think that's also because when I think about this, we're having this conversation now, but also just growing up, I was told a lot of the things in regards to what not to look for, not what to look for. So there were a lot of being told like, don't do this, don't bring this, don't do that. Same thing even in the church. Don't do this, don't do that. There was never just really identifying what are the things that you should look
Be
for
looking for.
in a relationship
Yes.
as a young woman, as you're growing in these stages. What does an ideal partner look like? What does someone who values you look like? Having those conversations, and I really feel like young people need those conversations now.
Yes.
It's always been from a deficit mindset.
Yeah.
And that's why a lot of us go into dating with, he don't have this, he don't have that.
Yeah.
He
Right.
don't look like
That's so true. I never
don't
thought about
get
it
to
like that.
focus on
What
oh,
is he?
he does have this.
Exactly.
He has that going for him because we have not practiced like thinking together about what is ideal.
All right, ladies, man, I am so excited to have you ladies here. We are on the second episode of She Discovered podcast, The Extension. And today we're talking about dating in 2021, but the ladies edition, right? And it's a follow-up from season 2, episode 16, where we were talking about dating. However, we had a panel of like both men and women. But today I just wanted it to concentrate mainly on us women here. So thank you so much for being here with us. And so let's start off with this, right? We know that not only in our generation, but in generations before that, there has always been growing pains when it comes to dating. But a lot of the times you see it on IG and social media where we're like, you know what, I just want that 90s type of love again, you know, where it was just authentic, it was passion, it was real. Not saying that there wasn't issues, because Mary J. Blige put us on where she just had chronicles of like the woes of finding love and keeping love. So here's my first question to us. What do we believe is contributing to the struggles that we're having in this era or in this age, 2021, in dating? From my perspective, I would say a couple of things would be social media, reality TV, the disconnect between men and women in understanding their roles, or the miscommunication with the roles in relationships. So anyone can start, but what do you believe is contributing to the issue or the disconnect that we're having where the dating scene is not so easy? It's not so 90s.
It's not giving what it was supposed to give.
At all.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Waiting a long time to get to date this way, and it's just not there. So I'd say the two things that are coming to my mind in regards to that are a lot of people don't have a knowledge of themselves and transparency.
Right.
Willing to say exactly what it is that they want, how they want it, when they want it, with what frequency. And I think that has a lot to do with why we cannot come together. We don't know ourselves, and in not knowing ourselves, we confuse us and confuse the other person who we're trying to be with.
Absolutely right. Yeah.
I want to piggyback off of that because I was thinking about men and the trauma that they're holding on to from past relationships that they're bringing into a new relationship. That definitely from maybe my experience.
Let's be real. Let's be real. Can we say that we've all dealt with a certain man or men that have brought in trauma or are not emotionally aware and don't realize it, right?
You know, so I think definitely like focusing on who you are, first of all, before you can figure out what I want to be in a relationship, what I want to bring to a relationship. Who am I as a person, as Lise, as male 1, male 2, whatever.
Yeah.
Trying to figure out who you are first, then bringing that into the fold.
Yeah. We're gonna get to that. I'll touch because a lot of times, and hold off your comments because we're gonna get to it. I got a structure right here because we're gonna talk about that. It's not only men coming in with toxicity, right?
Yeah,
We gotta be out.
Yeah, we gotta be authentic. We gotta be real with us.
Well, hold it off. Hold it off. Did you have anything?
Yeah, absolutely. I definitely want to add ditto to everything that these ladies said. So I guess what I'll add to that is definitely a lack of honesty, which comes from a level of being inauthentic. And I also wonder if that has to do with a misunderstanding of what honesty looks like.
Ooh.
Because in my encounters, I found brothers who thought they were being honest, but you
I need
never
a
met
sticky note. I
someone
need
who
to take
has
some
like
notes.
been dishonest for so long that they believe their dishonesty. Do you know what I mean?
Yes.
So in many levels, because there hasn't been an opportunity to really be in therapy, to really unpackage some of those issues, they sometimes believe some of the things that they're saying. You know what I mean? And
Very true.
and that goes on both ends, both for women and men.
Right.
And so I think that has been part of the issue, because we have social media and we have like this facade that we need to
There we
live up
go.
to. Now we're taking that same facade to relationships offline. And it's just like, we're not online, we're offline, and I need you to be your true self. So I really think that one of the biggest things that needs to happen is like, folks really need to take advantage of therapy.
Yeah.
To really unpackage the things that are just like those traumas, that baggage that you're sometimes are unaware of, that's just like really buried. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? Those buried emotions that then come to the surface when we're in relationship.
Yeah. And again, like you said, honesty, transparency, therapy, all of those elements contribute to good communication. But I love what you said, and I said it earlier also with social media, because it's not only about going to therapy, but we have a job to do outside of just, speaking about or addressing our trauma or issues, is what we ingest also. And I think it's very important, like the scripture says, by beholding, you become changed. So a lot of times, like we were saying, like we're on social media and then we start getting these illusions of what relationships should look like. Don't get me wrong, there is on social media that we see the advancement of men that are talking about emotions, black men, black women that are doing the work. However, we also see that other side where relationships look very materialistic, right? Don't get me wrong. We all know we want to get flown out.
Yeah.
You feel me?
Yeah.
You feel me? We know that we want that, but at the same time, it's like, that's what I'm seeing. Like, he needs to buy me this. He needs to do that. He needs to do that. And then at the same time, not discussing like, and let me know what you guys think, because I still believe in the traditional ways of the roles of man and women. Not saying that it can't be interchangeable, that a man can't cook and a man can't do this, a woman can't do that. But at the same time, there's a beauty in masculinity. There's a beauty in femininity, right? And I think sometimes with social media or reality TV, ratchet TV, as we like to say, gives us this illusion. And it's funny, for us women here, we can say we don't got to give our ages per se, but in our 30s or 40s right here, right? I wonder how even us, compared to the younger generation coming up, how we went from wanting this traditional 90s type of love, and now we've gotten sucked into the way dating looks today. Do you believe with this new era, should we now just come to the fact that most things just have to be virtual, since we're talking about social media? Because online dating is a thing now, right? It's a crave. You have all these different... Before, when we were growing up, we had like Black Planet, MySpace. I'm sorry, I'm aging up. You know what I'm saying? Right. Black Planet, MySpace. If we're going a little further, AIM, age, sex, location. You know what I mean? ASL. So, but... do we believe? So that kind of was like the beginning of it. Yeah, you know what I mean? That was the beginning of it. But should we say that at this point in time that this is what we have? Because for me, I still find it hard to meet men at social events or gatherings or so forth. So do we think that this is what we have to now be accustomed to, where dating has to be virtual?
I don't think it has to be. I think that is just another tool and another part of the dating scene. I have to be honest that like online dating is not something that I'm the best at. I do think that it becomes a bit difficult when you're kind of pressed with this idea of I have to put up this particular profile so that people can get to know me. Yeah. And then the conversations, it's just, I don't know. Personally, it's been ghetto. Like, online dating still feels like it's been the ghetto. I have not been feeling it. Like, not to say that there have been definitely some great successful experiences for people, for sure. But recently. I don't think that has been my experience. I feel like there are a lot of people who are going on there and just really just want to hook up, you know. And
Facts.
if that's what that is, then
Be
that's,
honest about
be
that.
honest about that.
Right. Yeah.
It's a challenge, I think, because first of all, let's say 5 people are interested in you, okay, whatever. Then you try to sift through, are you really, really interested in me, or you just want to hook up?
Right.
And then 2 months into the getting to know you stage, you flip into somebody different. Well, why didn't you say this on your profile?
Correct.
You know, so it's like, it's easy in a sense because you want to filter through people that have the same commonalities as you. Are we looking for the same things in a relationship? Are we looking for a relationship?
Right.
Then you feel like you get there, and then they, you know, throw a monkey wrench in the game.
Yes.
Like,
Right.
so it's like,
Yes.
okay, let me start over. You know, let me start on another
it's
app.
annoying to keep starting over.
It really is. So I don't think
Nobody got time for that.
exactly, because you invest not necessarily a whole lot of time, but still you want to, you know, have this friendship foundation. You want to start communicating, and then the communication fizzles. It's like, okay, well, what did you come on here for?
Correct.
You know, so
Correct. Yeah.
it is a challenge, honestly.
Yeah, it's a challenging ghetto place. For 2 stars, don't recommend.
Don't like it here.
Yeah.
I've had a mixture of success and like failure, but also like complete craziness where like people have to be blocked and I have to make sure
Yeah.
that I have to ensure my safety. So I think like that's another element that comes into the virtual space. There is something about a dating resume that like just does not sit well with me because you're presenting what you think are the best parts of yourself.
Right.
And then like you're putting to the side who you authentically are. And maybe like these things do define you and do reflect who you are, but I'd probably pick them up in a different way if I'm sitting across from you.
Correct.
As opposed to how you are setting them up in your profile. So a lot of times people have some dope ass profiles. And you're like,
Yeah.
ooh, looking good, feeling good, sounding good on paper. And when
Yeah.
you go in person, it's like,
Who are you?
Yeah.
what's this?
Yeah.
Right.
You're wasting my time. And like, that's my most valuable resource and I can never get that back. So virtual dating, don't like it very much. And just I keep coming back to this idea of, is this the way that things are gonna go?
Yeah.
Is
not.
this how
I hope not. Seriously.
Yeah.
Right.
but like trying to expand like your current dating pool, that's one of the easiest ways
Yeah,
to do it. But it's just a bunch of BS that you have to sift through. And sometimes I think where we are in our lives and where I think other women are, it's just I don't have the time to keep going through and sifting through the foolishness. And so can you just come correct one time?
Yeah.
So I can know.
So we could be one and done.
Right.
Like,
So I can know, bet this is not for me. No hard feelings, but
Yeah.
like, this is not going to work. As opposed to you giving me like this bill and receipt of foolishness, and then I've wasted 6 months.
Correct.
Well, you know,
Correct.
and I just kind of want to add to that. What you said, something that just sort of made me think about the time and the place that we're in. Also, when you're looking at just this, you said this bill and receipt, or just even like this profile and facade, makes you think about just this era of being in a microwave era.
Yes.
You know, and just like things just happening right now. And that's why you have like this profile that says, okay, these are the top 5 things you need to know about me, you know, and it's not really giving you the meat, right? It's not really giving you the fullness of who the person is. And I do think that it comes, again, the intention comes from a good place, which essentially is part of, you connect with people based off of the things that are important to you, right?
Correct.
And the things that I love. And so organically, that's how I connect with someone. And so I guess that's the idea with the online dating. But the problem is, once I've connected with you, which I did have a successful, you know, experience with a person I met online, right? But because it was based off of this facade, when I began knowing him
Yeah.
over time, it was just like,
that's important info
Yeah.
out. Right.
Yeah. I don't know. I love the whole meeting the person, you know, at an event or through a friend or something like that. So I've only spent like a month or 2 months, the max, and I'll just be like, this ain't it. This ain't it. And I'll hop from different apps, right, to give it a try. But even then, I'm just like, what is happening here? Like Ashira said, like, this feels like the ghetto. But friends were also telling me that I was just being too picky. So do you think there's an element of pickiness that us as ladies can have? Because like they were sitting next to me. I was on, what is it called? The Black dating app. And they were sitting next to me. They was like, all right, Shay, come on, let's go. We're going to do this. We got to get you out there. And I was like, all right.
Exactly.
Yeah, so I
Created
just
the profile for you.
I created myself. I was like, y'all not about to jack me up over here.
Right.
So I'm just like, ooh, okay. I'm, getting a little hopeful where I'm just like, oh, I'm about to meet me a black king. Okay. And you go in, and this is me.
That's me too.
No.
Yeah.
No. And she's like, what's wrong with that one? It's like, he look ghetto now. And then, I'm doing like this. And she was just like, Shay, you just passed about 50 pictures. And I was like, but isn't not attraction first? Like, you know what I mean? Yeah. But it's not only that. It was certain things that I was also seeing in the profile where even if I wasn't highly attracted to them, but I saw like maybe certain elements, and I'm just like, this ain't it. Because at the end of the day, there is a particular type of man that I'm looking for. There's a depth that I would like to see. And granted, like Ashira was saying, meeting in person, having conversations is where you will begin to learn more. But on your profile, it is true. I'm kind of wanting to see, like what you were saying, the resume. You got to bring like the key points that will kind of allure me in. But at the end of the day, y'all tell me, y'all know me, like, are we being too picky? Am I being too picky?
What are you asking for? I think that's what first needs to be established, and everyone has their different version of what picky is. Like for me, I am not swiping right on a guy that has a dog filter. I am sorry.
Yeah.
What are you doing?
Yeah.
Right? Or someone who is in multiple pictures with multiple people, like you're communicating certain things with what you're putting out. One, for me, that's like you're not confident and you don't think that you're attractive because you have to hide in like pictures with other people. Or you're always wearing a hat. Or you never smile in any of your pictures. So I can't see what your teeth look like.
Right.
I can't see what your head looks like. Right?
Yeah.
And then now I gotta...
Important.
Right. Like, these are the little things that we pick up. But, like, what does picky mean? What does picky mean for you? What is it that you're specifically looking for? Because I can think that you're being picky, but you're probably not, because you know who you are. You know what you're looking for.
Correct.
If you want a guy with a dog filter, go ahead.
Right.
I'm not swiping on him.
Correct.
No, it doesn't matter if he has like all of these like 5 things that whatever. The fact that you're presenting yourself in that way tells me something about the type of man that you are. And that's not someone who I want to be with.
Right.
It just depends on, I think, what you are being specific about.
Yeah, I think for myself, I'm asking the question, but I know I'm not. You know what I mean? I'm just doing it for conversation's sake because, like I said, there are certain things that you would like to see. You said you don't like dog filters. I don't like seeing a man taking a selfie in a bathroom. Like, and I could see the stalls behind you. You know what I'm saying?
Was it that urgent for you to take a picture at this time?
Yeah.
Like right now?
I'm just like...
Like, I don't understand.
Ask your homeboy to
Let him kneel down, get the angles.
Or no face, just abs, or what you want to call abs.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Why?
Yeah.
See, so the thing is, when I listen to you say this, I'm just sort of like, we also have to remember to just go by your gut instinct.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
Yes.
Sometimes we start sort of saying that your gut instinct is being picky. I'm not too sure about it. Because essentially for someone else, they might say, oh, you're being picky. But honestly, in another end, it just might be like, yo, Shay, you like what you like.
Facts.
Do you know what I mean? You like what you like. And
Facts.
because you're taking and internalizing these thoughts. Don't be too picky. Wait a minute, all this stuff. And now you go ahead and you might swipe right. Come to find out exactly what you felt from the beginning shows up later on down the line.
Correct.
There have definitely been situations where I've looked at a profile, I'm like, I don't know. Talking to DM, it doesn't feel right, or I'm looking at something, context clues. Why are you taking a picture in the bathroom? You know, like there's some like look between the lines. You know what I mean? I think that there's some things that we gotta look at. Don't be too surprised later on when there are elements that this person is showing you that you're just like, but I knew that when I first felt it by looking at your profile. Not to say that you can get everything, but I do think as women we really have to trust our intuition.
100%.
I think it's all about presentation as well. You know what I mean? So sometimes people are like, oh, y'all being wild. Like, yo, at least he took a pictures. Why is it in the... presentation. You know what I'm saying? And I love what you said about gut feeling and intuitions, which we know that women, we really have that element down packed within us. And for some women, it's more elevated when you're more self-aware, when you're more in tune with God and in alignment. And there are others, it takes a little bit more time to listen to that instinct. But you're right, certain things that you see because you know what you desire, not only in a mate, physically, mentally, spiritually, but what you desire as a relationship. Because if I'm dating for a purpose. Right. Well, some of us, right? Some of us just choose to just date around, which is fine. But at the end of the day, if what I'm looking for is purposeful, then at the end of the day, yeah, I kind of have to go with my gut instinct on certain things. So let's now switch over to more of the follow-ups from the last episode that I did. Once again, check it out on season 2, episode 16, where we talked about dating. And one of the elements that came up is identifying quality, right? What defines a quality man and a quality woman? And we see it all over social media. We see it with, what's that man name? I can't stand him. What's it?
I'm looking over here.
The dude.
Yeah.
Ah, look, I don't
With
even
the
pay.
glasses,
I don't
with
even
the-
pay attention to him anymore.
I
my
see his face. I
gosh.
just don't know his name. Just ready to cut a one.
Kevin,
Yes.
thank you. You and you got us here
I'm
like
looking over here.
Kevin Samuels.
Yes,
There
yes,
we
yes.
go. You got us here like,
Still
what
haven't
was it?
seen these videos. I've heard about him, but I still haven't
It's
seen any
trash.
yet.
Yeah, it's just a lot of talk. And don't get me
You
wrong.
know who he is? I'm like, no.
I mean,
I'm
there
not
are
aware,
certain
but-
things that he says that you're like, okay, but like the overall grand scheme is just like, all right, this is, anywho. So I want to read a couple of statistics that I did when I did a poll on IG. And the question was, ladies, do you believe there's a shortage of quality men? 26% said no. And 74% said most definitely. And the way that they polled this was basically defining men by, or the quality of men because of the lack of maturity that they're seeing. They're also seeing that a lot of them are not emotionally aware or emotionally available. A lot of men do not want to take accountability for their actions. So a lot of women saying what they're encountering right now is what's leading them to say that there's a lack of quality men out here. What do you think?
No, I want to say no. I want to be hopeful. I want to
Yeah.
say no.
Okay.
There's quality men out there. I feel like some, maybe, we're swiping the other way on them. You know, maybe a profile pic didn't really capture our attention. And sometimes I fail to give someone a chance based on something I may see right offhand. But I want to say there's quality guys out there. I hope.
We're not saying that there aren't.
Right.
I think we're looking at the ratio, like compared to the abundance of men with quality and the ones with, like, that we define as you're not quite ready to enter into a committed relationship. Because when we use the word quality, I do not want to make it seem that certain men are trash, but not to make it seem that when we're saying that if you're not emotionally aware or certain things, then that equates to trash, because everybody's on their journey. But in the sense of like really being ready for a committed, building, purposeful relationship, women are saying that what they're encountering is that there's more men that are not of quality already compared to those that are. So yeah, there are, but how many are there?
I don't think that there's a shortage. I think that people are constantly transitioning and evolving. And depending on when and where you meet that person, you might say, oh, this person is not quality, because for you, quality means you own your own car. You own your own home. Quality for someone else is this man has a job.
Yeah.
He's making honest money. He's doing his thing. He might not have this, he might not have that, but that's a quality man because he's hardworking, because he's ambitious, because he's driven. And so I think that the definition of quality has shifted in a way that men that we probably would say, oh, that man is quality. Now women are looking for men to do certain things without them kind of meeting that man where he is, or even having those qualities or things themselves.
Correct.
And so I think that helps to bring that average of, oh, there's a shortage up. right? Because the qualities that are now being defined as I need my man to have that, he needs to come correct with that, are qualities that I don't necessarily think make someone a quality or a quality man.
Understood.
I'm in agreement with that completely. I would say that no, I don't think that there's a shortage of quality men. Particularly because, for one, I just feel like it's really difficult for me to make that judgment based only on my experience because I've lived the majority of my life here in New York.
Okay.
And so I think location, plays a huge role. And I have these conversations with, my cousins and my brothers who I consider to be quality men, and we have these convos and we talk about like location plays a role because where you're living also determines what stage you might be, particularly in your life.
That's true.
And so I do think that in addition to that, some of the people who I've dated in the past, I think that they just were, just as you shared, in a different place or a different space. I think that they were good men that sometimes made some choices that I did not agree with.
Yeah.
And holding myself accountable, I might not have been the best person at that time when we were together in that relationship,
Right.
And so I do think that there's a lot of, reflection to kind of take into account when thinking about that question. And I'm packaging, like you said, what quality means because they're different stages.
Yeah, you're totally right. Absolutely right. I would ask, because I wrote here that there is a level of growth that women are seeking, right? In these men that they wish to date and a state of being present. But I had this question. I said, or could it be that there are a fair amount of quality men and women? However, those same men are choosing otherwise and vice versa. Example, good girls with bad boys, good guys with bad girls, right? Because I've and what I mean by that, I've heard quality men and they're saying, they could slightly be a little shallow and they're choosing the baddies, the Instagram models. And I'm saying this is not me. These are from their mouths where they're like, those are the type of women that they've encountered to be the most toxic. So it's just like, oh my gosh, you're a good guy, but you're out here, quote unquote, choosing the bad girl. Or we're the good girls and we're not looking at the good guys, but we want the bad boy. We want the one with swag. So it sometimes comes down to not that there is a lack, either men or women, but in the way that we're making the choices to date or who we're dating.
Yeah, because when we say, or when I hear a woman say, "Oh, I want him to be a bad boy and swag," what I hear is, I want him to be confident. I want him to be attractive. I want him to protect me.
Yeah.
Right. I want to feel like I'm with someone who's going to hold me down. When I hear oh, she got to be a baddie, I want someone who's sexy. I want someone who's going to look good on my arm. But oftentimes we only equate that with one picture of something. The Instagram girl.
Right.
Like it's not always her. And a lot of men will tell you, I don't want that girl. She's nice to look at. I like her pictures. She look good. Do I want her beside me? Do I want her on my arm? Do I want to take her home to mom? No.
No, to
Yeah.
settle down with no.
Right. And so I think like the distinction always has to be made between what they like to look at and possibly what they want to lay with, but not like what they want to grow with and build a legacy with.
Got it.
And that's where a lot of us get it confused, because we think that by him looking at this person, like it's the long term that he's looking at with her, when oftentimes it's just, no, he would sleep with her and then that's it. On.
And it could possibly be the stage that he's in at the time. He only may want someone to look nice with on his arm.
That
or
is true, too.
To lay down with, or to, take pictures, pose with, whatever, for a short period of time. But he knows,
Right.
this is not long term. Let me just play around for the time being, and then, when I'm ready to settle down and like be focused on a family, I know where I'm gonna go. I
Right.
know, who I'm gonna look out for,
Right.
and she's not it.
Right. I understand.
Growing up in a Haitian household, I already knew that there's certain guys that was not about to be
Yeah.
with my mama, because my mom be like, hey, like my friend be like,
hey.
"What do I like?" Where you go? You know, so there's already, you know, certain conversations. I'll be like, look, wait a minute. So I think off the bat, there, you know, there's certain guys that I wouldn't necessarily even have attraction to because I'm like, this ain't gonna go far. That's one, but I don't know if it's so much about like being attracted to like, you know, a bad boy or whatever that is, you know, particularly. I think I just think where I was, you know, I'm putting myself out there, but where I was in my 20s versus like, you know, where I am now, I just had different priorities. I think, you know, when you coming out of high school, it's like, oh, he's cute.
Yeah.
Or
he went to public school because I went to Catholic school. You went to, okay, that's me right there.
Looking at, you know, there were the things that I looked at first was like, oh, wow, like I like his style. I like how he talks. Oh my gosh, these particular things. Now I'm just like, yo, what's your credit score?
Right.
Like when
Where
we're
do you
want to
see yourself?
Where do
Right.
you see yourself in the next 5 years? Like what, like, do you know what your purpose is? Do you know like what it is that you're really interested in, what you're trying to do? Things like that are more, you know, sexy and appealing to me. Do you know what I mean?
That's
because
swag.
that's swag.
Right,
you know,
right.
Being confident, you know, as a man when you step into a space, having this feeling where I feel like as a man, I feel protected by you. How do you treat your sisters? How do you treat your mom? How do you treat the women around you? What's your presence like in the community? You know, those are the things I'm looking at, even without having a conversation with you. And that's an attraction that I don't think I had that understanding when I was younger.
Right.
I think
Right.
too, because when we're younger, we're not looking for longevity.
Right.
Correct.
We're looking for like just in the right now. And so now that it's okay, I'm looking for husband. I am looking for someone who is who wants to be a husband, someone who wants to be a father, someone who has a good relationship with his family, someone who is concerned about how we're going to eat, not just today, but tomorrow and the day after that, where we're going to live, right?
Right.
And so, again, like the scope changes. And I even remember myself 2 years ago, I was not thinking about a lot of the things that I'm now coming into my own and saying, damn, girl, you was really out here wild. Right?
Yeah.
So now it's the priorities have shifted. 100% do not want the same things. And that's when these guys that you probably swiped left on because his collar was a little too high.
Right.
He ain't look
There
like he had
we
no swag.
go.
Now, the things he's saying on his profile is like, this man's sexy.
Yeah. And
so
that's
you
what's attractive to us.
You see what you two are saying, though? That goes with kind of what I was saying, where it's the awareness and maturity that now occurs. Because we say stereotypes, but there's truth to stereotypes. So for the most part, when you think of a dude with swag and confidence and he's a boss and he's going to protect me, most of the time it's bad boys that we see, right? Not saying that other men aren't that, but stereotypically what you'll see is like, yeah, it's a street dude, you know what I mean? He got street knowledge and that's the type of man that we're going to get. And the one, like you said, with the collar up or kind of looks nerdy-ish, he's really the good guy that got the good credit score and that he's ready to protect your emotions and so forth. But we overlook him because we like, you don't look like you got that.
Like he would beat
know?
a boy up for me, like.
Right, you don't look like you'll do those things, and men on the other side, vice versa, could do the same thing where they're just like, well, this girl that's probably not as sexually appealing, I might want to bring her home later, but right now I want this type of woman. But as men are maturing, they're realizing if I want longevity, this is what I have to look for. We're not passing over the concept of attraction, right? That we want a man to look good or we want a woman to look a particular way. But at the end of the day, that's what we're saying. Once you become more aware, more mature, you see certain elements that you know a dude could be swagged out and protect you as he grows and matures. But at the same time, he can have good knowledge in finances. He could be emotionally aware and so forth. So I think there are certain people that are in their 30s, 40s, but are still in a 20 or college mentality. And they find themselves in this cycle and they're just like, why do I find myself here? Because you have not switched from a college or 20-year-old mind state into a level of maturity to know like certain things are superficial, right? So,
Can I just respond? And I think that's also because when I think about this, we're having this conversation now, but also just growing up, I was told a lot of the things in regards to what not to look for, not what to look for. So there were a lot of being told like, don't do this, don't bring this, don't do that. Same thing even in the church. Don't do this, don't do that. There was never just really identifying what are the things that you should
Be looking for.
in a relationship
Yes.
as a young woman, as you're growing in these stages. What does an ideal partner look like? What does someone who values you look like? Having those conversations, and I really feel like young people need those conversations now.
Yes.
It's always been from a deficit mindset.
Yeah.
That's why a lot of us go into dating with he don't have this, he don't have that.
Yeah.
He
Right.
don't look like
That's
this.
so true. I
We
never
don't
thought about
get
it like
to
that.
focus on
What does he
he
have?
does have this.
Exactly.
He has that going for him because we have not practiced like thinking together about what is ideal. Like you saying that makes me remember my mom like saying and Jamaican family, so just as turned up as Haitian.
Yes.
Right?
Caribbean period.
Right.
Just Caribbean.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Nobody bring the man with no pants down and bottom. Nobody
Yeah.
this. Nobody
Yes.
that. And even in some cases would tell me what nationality, what ethnicity.
Yeah.
Oh,
Mm-hmm.
yeah.
So even with that, like closing, I already had a closed mind about who to date, what to do, what to look for, because we've always been told don't instead of let's look at this model relationship and let's talk about what are the things we need to look for.
Amen.
Agreed.
Yeah,
Which is much
true.
more healthy.
Much more healthy, right? All right, so this is gonna come to us now because we're not so innocent, right? Because we're here talking about the men.
About ourselves.
Oh, here we go. Here we
It's time to
go.
go.
Right.
So here we go with the statistics for women. We asked men, do you believe there is a shortage of quality women? 68% said no, and 32% said yes. Now, the reasons for the 32% that said no, some men said that they believe, although women tend to be more mature than men and, you know, they have a sense of emotional awareness, there are plenty of women that are still toxic, right? There are plenty of women that they use the element of, well, I don't cheat, I'm ready for a relationship, and I'm ready to commit as the measurement to say that, yeah, I'm ready, I'm of quality. Right. And there are certain men that I've spoken to and have said, like, you know what? Like, she doesn't hold herself accountable. She's not really as honest. And us as men are always getting bashed, but at the end of the day, we're dealing with women that don't really hold up to the standard either. So my question with that is that, are there areas that we have seen in our journey in growing up and maturing that we've had to see our own toxicity or even our own levels of we're not quite that ready?
Oh, yeah.
You know?
Absolutely.
For sure.
Not all of us getting fidgety.
Look, hands itching.
I'm a little sweaty right now.
I need a tissue. Is the heat on?
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Okay.
Girl.
Oh, y'all all quiet.
The camera just zoomed in real close.
Sweating.
We don't like it, but we need
No,
it.
I think for myself, whoa, this
It's
yeah.
right.
I had to sit back and reflect. You know, I tell my students, I teach second grade, reflect after you finish your work, reflect, you know, whatever. So I had a couple of failed relationships, and I think my sister and I were talking. She was like, well, why don't you go to a therapist? Maybe she could help you see what's going on. And that really, really helped to uncover, I don't want to say toxicity, but some of the challenges I was having.
Okay.
But it did help me grow.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying? It did help me grow because I couldn't always blame him.
Right.
The way I reacted in certain situations, looking back now, I'm like, dang, who raised you? You know what I'm saying? Like that.
Yeah.
But you have to like have this moment with yourself, you know, look yourself in the mirror.
Correct.
And say, yo, Lise, this cannot continue. You can't react this kind of way, especially if you want to grow, especially if you want to grow with someone. Nobody's going to want someone who can't keep themselves accountable, can't react in a certain manner, you know, instead of crying all the time or yelling, whatever, taking a moment and pausing and then coming back to the situation. So definitely reflection, definitely taking time to see, what's going on within yourself as well before, going on into another relationship. But yeah.
Yeah, because I think there are things that we could both do as genders interchangeably, but at the same time, there are certain things that are considered toxic or not ready for commitment that you see that is more prone with women, and there are things that are more prone with men to do. But for myself, I think my issue was insecurities, and my insecurities led my thought process in the relationships. My insecurities also was projected onto that person, where I started to create scenarios that really weren't there. And what the element is, I never took time to understand me. It was just like, oh, jump into a relationship. You went from relationships in college, high school, early 20s, and the end goal from what our parents, and no disrespect to our parents, but they just taught us what they knew to be the blueprint for leading down to marriage, where it's like, don't do this, don't do this, don't do that, like you were saying, but not the elements that we should be looking for within ourselves as women or men, and the things that we should be looking for in a marriage or relationship. So for myself, I think the growth that had to happen and is still happening is understanding me, doing a lot of introspection to understand what I desire, what I look for, and what are ways that I can even grow or even hold myself accountable. Accountability doesn't feel good for anyone, male or female.
That reflection, looking at
That
yourself.
reflection, you know what I
It's a tough
mean?
pill to swallow.
It's tough, but at the end of the day, if we're desiring something from men, we should be able to bring that same element to the table. Yeah.
Mine, and this one was like hard for me to say to myself, was my sense of entitlement to what a man should be to me, to how he should communicate with me, how frequently that needs to happen, and how he needs to show up in ways that I would not even have communicated, but I'm expecting him to know.
Yeah.
Because how could you not know? And so I think I walked around in my relationships and situationships. Help me, Jesus.
Child.
Situationship is real.
That's another episode on She Discovered podcast.
Being a chokehold, okay?
We'll be ain't alone.
We'll be back for that one. Yeah.
But the sense of entitlement where because I like you or because I want you, then you have to respond to me in this way. Or you need to react to me in this way. And if you don't, then I'm gonna create some chaos, right?
Yeah.
And it's gonna be like very covert chaos. And
Yeah.
I'm gonna like probably try to manipulate a situation
Okay.
just because I feel like I'm not getting what I want from you.
Right.
And so that sense of entitlement, I saw it in so many of the relationships that I was in, and like you're saying, that work, and saying to myself, this person doesn't owe you anything.
Yeah.
You want all of these things. You want them to communicate on your time. What about the way that they communicate? What about the things that are important to them? And so I had to like check myself and say, settle down
Yeah.
and be considerate, be open, and stop being entitled.
Correct.
Oof. Man, it's getting real.
Girl, that's I'm in pain over here.
Yeah, okay. Okay, I'm being vulnerable. So
I know.
Y'all already know when y'all rocking with me, vulnerability and transparency is gonna come on the table.
I wasn't ready. I wasn't ready, but here we are.
She discovered.
in the spirit of transparency.
Yeah.
Man. So I would say for myself, one of the things that I really grew in, particularly within like this past 2 years or so, especially because of the pandemic.
Yes.
The
Yes.
pandemic put me in a place where you had to be in reflection.
Yeah.
Anyhow, with self. And I recognized that I had to take a moment to just be with myself, because I have always believed that when being in relationship with someone else, that they are a reflection of me, and so if there are things that I'm seeing in them that is, a problem, I learned that well, where is that also in you? You know,
Yes.
what are they reflecting as well about myself? And so when I had these unsuccessful relationships, and the last one was really like a situationship, I was just like, all right, back to the lab. Like, you
Yeah.
got to go back to the lab. You really got to work on self.
Yeah.
Like, everybody getting cut off. Like,
Yeah.
everybody.
Yeah.
Don't nobody talk to me. My brothers, nobody. Don't. Like, you
Yeah.
know, it was just in the moment
Yeah.
where I just needed,
I was there for that. Yeah.
like, so everyone was cut off in that particular moment. He was like, what did I do to you? I was just, but particularly I needed that time to really sit with myself and see what was going on, because one of the things that ringed, and I'm getting real vulnerable, honest
It's
here,
okay.
but
It's
right, one of the
okay.
things that was repeated often was just like, it feels like nothing is enough. And I heard that not just from one person, but
Yeah.
from a few. And so I had to sit and just like, am I asking for too much?
Yeah.
And that was also something that I had to really wrestle with, because I also feel like there are, conversations that were sort of infiltrating my mind that caused me to settle in a lot of relationships and spaces where I should not have settled. And because I didn't want to be a person who was asking for too much, I was in a situationship.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because
Yeah.
I didn't want to be told that, and yet here I was being told the same thing anyway.
Yeah.
And so shout out again to my pastor, Pastor Darius Daniels. Dope. Like one of the things that he brought up and shared in a relationship series that I sat with was he talked about really identifying what you value and what you need.
Yeah.
And when I sat and really identified what I valued and what my needs were, I realized that no matter what that person did in those past relationships, of course it would never be enough, because it wasn't a part of the things that I needed. So he was doing stuff, but they weren't the things that I needed.
Right.
And then there were other areas where we didn't actually see eye to eye in terms of values.
Okay.
And so then when I took the time to add another part to that, which was my preferences, I saw that I was really dating these men based on some of my preferences.
Right.
But I wasn't feeling fulfilled in the relationship because they weren't meeting my needs and my values.
Yeah.
And so really kind of sitting with that has really shifted a whole lot of things. And I think that has saved both myself and another person from having to deal with a level of toxicity, because then I don't have to make you feel less than just
Correct.
because we don't share the same values or needs. I think it's best to, or my desire, my prayer, Lord, is to, be with someone who automatically has the things that I need, so it would never feel like I'm asking
For too
because
much.
it's just who you are.
Yes.
So it's in your personality, it's in who you are. You were really made for me because you just automatically give me the things that you need. It doesn't feel like it's extra for you. Right.
Equally yoked. Right.
And
yeah.
vice versa, that I'm the same for them.
Ooh. Yeah, we went there.
Yeah.
We went there, but it's needed. It's needed, and I think it's valuable for my listeners and viewers to hear us as women saying this, right? Because it'll have them to take a moment to discover what they need to work on and what they need to assess. Because at the end of the day, we're requiring men to bring something to the table, but we have to be honest in what are we bringing to the table? How are we setting up the table in order to receive a purposeful relationship or marriage? And there's another element, and you and I, Ashira, have spoken about that. I want women to be careful, even men to be careful, because when you're saying the men feel like, am I not enough? But women have that element too, and that was a part of my insecurities of, am I enough, for you to stick around, for you to desire me, so forth and so forth. But we have to also understand, because we're on this journey of growth, there's a difference between you're just stagnant, you're not doing anything, compared to you're on a journey of growth, and sometimes that takes time. There's not a specific arrival place when it comes to how we're maturing in knowledge and wisdom and emotions, mentally, spiritually, and all of those things. But I remember you and I spoke, and I said, we also as women have to realize we don't have to feel like we have everything together or everything is in perfection in order to feel worthy of receiving a mate. Because there are women that are out there that are doing therapy and all these things, but they still feel like, well, unless I'm perfect, then I'm never going to receive. Unless I'm perfect, then I'm not worthy enough to be in a relationship. And that's not true. The element that is important in coming into a relationship is, like you said, are we aligned mentally, spiritually?
That alignment is huge.
That alignment is huge, but there's still element of growth that happens in that alignment, right?
Absolutely.
Do we have the same, like you said, purpose and values and vision and so forth? Because if we're not just dating to date for fun, we're thinking about marriage, of building legacy, and then putting children into it, and you're talking about generations, then yeah, there are elements that we have to look for, but it doesn't mean in order for you to enter or I to enter, there has to be perfection, right? So I want us to understand that.
When you say that, makes me think of also another, dope Pastor Tory Roberts, when he said something, had me laid out on the floor, child, and he was just like, felt like he was just coming for me, and he was just like, God is trying to give you a purpose, mate, and you here just looking for a companion.
Hey,
And
yes.
so I think that when you said that, and that idea of, purpose, and knowing that you don't have all of it, you don't have to have all of it together. The idea is that the person who you will be with is supposed to support you in growing.
There we go.
So you know what I mean? Like, that's also why they're with you, to grow in this journey together, because we're growing together as purpose mates.
And
Purpose
I think
makes,
that you saying that makes me think about where a lot of us probably clash. It's because we're trying to compare what the other person has and see, okay, so they have this, do I have that?
Are we
matching
matching?
Yes.
Here? Yeah.
Yes.
And like you're looking for the complement, right? Like you're not gonna have a peanut butter and peanut butter sandwich.
Yeah.
You want the peanut butter and the jelly. Like you need the savory and the sweet.
There we go.
So I think a lot of it also comes from, oh, he got to have a good job or this type of job because I have this type of
Yes.
job, right? And it's like that comparison stealing your joy because you're not allowing yourself to see how you might have this and he doesn't have it, but like he has something else that where you lack.
Exactly.
And that's where like you can come together and make this sort of formidable union. But I think that was a part of like my issue too. I'm constantly looking at what I have and does it match? Does what he has match? And if it doesn't, then it can't be him.
Yeah.
Right.
Because it has to match in that way.
Yeah.
But sometimes we have to like keep our eyes open to the compliment, because if it's purposeful, then that means that they're going to help to build me up where I am lacking, and I will be doing the same for them.
Facts, because sometimes people still go on this idea of the traditional relationship example, which is, oh, she has to know how to cook, but
Correct.
sometimes in relationships, it just might also be that you're with the person where your partner, he cooks, you know what I mean? It's a matter of who can cook. You know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly.
We need to eat.
Right.
Yeah,
Right.
to eat. Like, who
Yeah.
can cook? Let's just start there. Do you know what I mean? Because we're working together, moving forward as a team. So
Yeah.
absolutely, I love it.
Awesome. So with we're getting to the stage of wrapping up. I had to end with our accountability session.
Thanks, send us out like that.
I'm gonna
Dab
smooth it out.
into-
I'm gonna smooth it
Drive
out. So, do we feel at our age, and it's okay where we're at, do we feel pressure from family and friends where it's just like, let's get the ball rolling, clock is ticking? Or, my mom, she jokes around, shout out to my mom, she'd be like, by the time you have a child, my hand's gonna be shaking. And I'm like, Mom, like, yo, just chill, But we understand from our parents. They desire to see us married. They desire to see us in a family. And from their generation, they desire to see that family unit. Or my mom would like to say that, when I'm gone, I want to know that you're being taken care of. So from that perspective, I get it. But also having her understand, God forbid, if you were to leave and I do not have a husband, I am still taken care of. Not only am I taking care of myself, but we have a village, we have a family. I have God that I know that I'm guided with, right? So what do you guys feel? Do you feel like there's a lot of pressure that us as women are feeling from family and friends, or even society in general, to get the ball rolling when it comes to like marriage or even children? Yeah.
Once you start moving, everyone reminds you, like you said, your clock is ticking. You know what's going on. What is it? I know my gram, she used to say, like, well, I don't understand. I don't understand, And especially within Haitian culture, they have a thing where they say, like, ukite al manaklan, which is like you left the calendar date. You know what I mean? You passed the mark in the date. It's time already. So the pressure is there. And I've had conversations with my family, especially about that, because I do think that it has a lot to do with how they grew up, in the time in which where their purpose was in building a family.
Correct.
Do you know what I mean? And I'm not to say that that's not my purpose. That is. I definitely know that, and that's something that I desire. But there are also other ways in which God has been using me right now in this stage of my life as an educator, as an artist, and a lot of these particular things. And so it just looks different for them. And as a result, because it looks different, it's beyond their scope of understanding.
Yeah.
Seeing, women have children much later, because the reality is we don't have to depend on
On
a
men.
husband
Yeah.
and a man the way that they did.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? My grandfather was, you know what I mean? The breadwinner was the person who
Correct.
really took care of everything in regards to our home and our family. And now we're in a different time where women are seeking their purpose. Women are working. Women are doing things. So you got to bring more to the table than just a check.
Correct.
You know,
Correct. Yeah.
So it makes it a little bit more, challenging to kind of decide who is this person that I'm going to stay with, because more of the conversations are, we don't necessarily want to settle.
Yeah.
I'm not trying to just be in a relationship as well where, I'm unhappy. And not to say that there won't be moments where there are difficulty. Of course, we understand that. But I do think that you want a partnership where there's joy.
Yeah.
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 I'm thinking about my parents. Like, they met in Haiti, my dad's cousin. So my mom, I think they were in class together. They introduced each other. That was easy. Okay, boom, you get married in a few years. It's
Yeah.
different now. Yes,
It is.
because by the time, like, I'm not going to say my age, but I'm saying they were already settled. They moved to New York at that point, got married here, started their family, and let's just go. So it was simpler back then.
It was simpler,
You
yeah.
know, it was simpler back then. So being, Haitian American, yes, there's pressure, but it's like, I try to tell them it's okay. It's gonna
It's
it's gonna
okay.
be okay. And then
Yeah.
I have to release some of the pressure off of me, because do I just want to get married just for the sense of getting married? I could have done that a long time ago. Would I be happy? Would I have been happy with remain nameless person here?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
No, I wouldn't have. So I think we're just looking for that forever.
Correct.
The guy with the quality, the person that we want to be safe and comforted by,
Right.
So yeah, there is pressure, but I try to tell the moon, please,
Yeah.
we're getting there. We're almost there, We're
I had
almost
to tell
there.
my mother, it's not that I don't desire it. I do, but I had to ask her one day, I said, what would you rather, that I have longevity with a mate, or I fulfill the whole wedding, marriage, and so forth? Within a couple of years, we hear that I'm getting divorced. Because I know you don't want that,
Yeah.
So I had to help her see from that lens. And, there was a little struggle still, because sometimes we got to repeat things to them over and over, But I think for her, where it really clicked is when her friends and her peers were calling her and it was like, my daughter is this, or this husband left her with these kids, and she's going through that. And my mom said, if you about to go through all that type of trash, girl, stay single. I ain't even worried
My
about
dad
you
said
no
the
more.
same thing.
She had to realize.
Once he realized it, he was like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
I said, just give me a moment. I don't want to rush into anything, because I want it to be forever.
Yeah.
At this point in my life. And,
Yeah.
what we doing? So,
Yeah.
But once he realized that, I think my dad more so understands than my mom. My mom is just like, I would like to hold it, baby.
I tell you, my mom said her hands gonna be shaking.
But to have their support and understanding that it's going to happen releases some of the pressure and the panic.
Yeah.
Yeah, like for me, it's twofold. I don't feel like my family pressures me per se, or ever really pressured me. But I felt that pressure and put that on myself. Because the age in my family where women get married are 27. I am gone from that, right? So I knew by 27 you married, so that by 30 you have your first, and then by 33 you have your second, so that you get to grow together. And then I have friends who are medical professionals who are like, hey girl, that clock you got,
Yes.
tick tick tick, let's
Yes.
go. But I think too, the reason they're saying and doing all of that is just, I want to see you love.
Of
I wanna
course.
see you
Yeah.
flourish.
Of
I wanna
course.
see you happy.
Absolutely.
But it's just not happening in the time. What has been interesting though is from from me not being married and not having children yet, but fulfilling my purpose in another way.
Amen.
My family has been like, oh, we're glad that you have the time and
Yeah.
space to
Exactly.
like do this. We're glad that you are like, you're traveling, you're all over the place. And now my mom will say something like, yes, Miguel, go on in. I have no picnic and I have no man.
Yeah,
I have
yeah,
no husband for run home to stay as long as you
Yeah,
want. And I'm
yeah.
like, oh, damn.
yeah,
Love it. So I think that, like, for me, my family and my friends are noticing the joy and fulfillment that I'm experiencing in life
Yeah.
from other things.
Yeah.
And I think that it's important for them to understand that husband and children are wonderful. They're blessings. But there are other things in life that I think women should experience before they do
Yeah.
that, so that they can have a full understanding and just full experience of love and joy in the different ways that it
Yeah.
comes. So I've had to take that pressure more off myself. But I don't feel it anymore. And now I think because I've released myself from the pressure, I've cut conversations with family members like, we're not talking about that.
yeah.
Right?
Like it's not necessary.
Right. It's not necessary. I'm
Yeah.
not dating right now, and that's where I'm leaving that. Now it's just like me not looking for it. It's coming.
Yeah.
Right. And I already feel that. So I think too, when we're not so focused on need a
Key.
husband,
Yeah.
need a this, need a
Yeah,
that.
yeah.
Yeah.
Like being desperate about it.
Yes.
When we settle into who we are and give ourselves time to find our purpose and give ourselves time to enjoy our life where we are, then I think that's where God is like, you're ready.
Yep.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Exactly.
And it's just really also key and important to break that understanding and conversation around this idea that my worth is in
Marriage.
in marriage.
Yes.
My worth is in me having this man and this mate. My worth is in me having children. You know what I mean? Because even when you do have a mate, then the next part is, where's the children?
Yes.
You know what I mean? Where there's always
It's
this.
always a follow up.
Yeah.
Oh,
Right.
even if you have a child, when's the next
Right,
one?
exactly.
Yeah.
So there needs to be an importance around creating boundaries around this idea of you having a little bit too much input on my own life and the timeline of what's happening with my life. Me and God are having conversation about this.
Correct.
And we
good.
got this.
We got this, right? Yeah.
Because if we don't set those boundaries, then they'll always have those things. And as a result, like you said, you'll start making choices without knowing out of a place of desperation.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because as much as you can try to kind of block those thoughts, they make their way in sometimes.
Yes.
You know what I mean? They
Yes.
make their way in. So it's really important to kind of remind, our loved ones who are coming from a loving place.
Right.
I know that, there's no malintent, but it's just important to kind of remind them like,
Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly.
yeah.
We,
Agreed.
we've said so many beautiful things here today. And first of all, I got to give a shout out to you three ladies. You all three are educators. Oh,
Shout out to the babies.
yeah, shout out to you. You guys are necessary and vital, and I know many people appreciate you. I appreciate you, so thank you for the work that you are doing, and thank you just for being on this podcast and sharing your experiences and your knowledge on dating and how we're feeling. And I could say that we're all single, and what I mean by that, we could be dating or in relationships, but we haven't reached the point of marriage as yet. So I do desire for us, with everything that we're saying here, that we desire purposeful relationships. We desire a marriage that is long lasting, a longevity. So I do wish that for all of us, and thank you so much just for being here. You guys are gorgeous and beautiful, so thank you.
thank you for having us.
This space. Yes, for
Yeah.
allowing us to come together.
Yes, thank you.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
grateful to be on this wonderful panel with all this
Yes.
beautiful
Melanin
queen.
gorgeous.
Thank you.
Gorgeous. No doubt. No doubt. So for my viewers, thank you so much for being and listening and watching She Discovered podcast. Please don't forget to subscribe and like. And at the same time, you can also check out episodes online on audio platforms through Apple, Google, and Spotify. The link will be in the description. And just tune in for next time with She Discovered podcast.
Yay.
Yay.